the first topic, that is factor analysis. So, like factors are the variables, different set of uh, variables you can take, like grouping some variables, like a factor contains of different classes. Suppose if you take like uh, uh, attitude, let us say attitude, if the attitude has having high, medium or low, or like risk, if you consider risk variable, high risk, medium risk, low risk, moderate, very high, like volatile, like that, there will be some classes. So if we take risk as a variable and it has different factors, that is nothing but different set of classes, like factors is nothing but different levels in a variable. So mm, and also factor can be of grouping set of variables, can also be called as a factor. Factoring is nothing but grouping a large number of variables and to reduce the dimensions. If you are having some 150 uh, variables of data, so in order to analyze that, it will take so much time, so that they require lot of time, space, and also processor to execute those. And if we calculate manually, we cannot even estimate the time also. So based upon that factor, based upon that scenario, we are going to talk about the factor analysis. So factor analysis is nothing but a technique where large number of variables are scaled down to less number of factors. Suppose if we have having some 150 of variables, we will be scaled down them to like quantified, like let us brought them to some 20 or 30. So almost let us consider not 150. Suppose we are having some 20 variables, you need to analyze those. If the data consisting in them is something correlational between them, no need of analyzing all the variables. uh, there will be so many factors which are interlinked with each other. So, when you are taking a personality test, let us suppose you are taking a personality test for an interview purpose. So, uh, where different types of games or questions or cross examinations will be done, and based upon that purpose, uh, eventually the answers will be recorded. So there are so many questions which are related to one another. Upon that basis, different variables of data will be collected. So if you are having you are not going to mingle with other team members, so this means like it will interpret a result, ultimately like you will fall under the category of introvert. So like that, one thing will lead to some another. So if we are going to frame a factor variable like introverts, all the people who are not willing to express will come under the introvert variable. So like that, depend directly or indirectly, these answers will lead to an output. So if you are going to consider like, uh, are you fine with the teamwork, or will you express or not? So there will be some different responses, so which will be stored individually in different variables. So in order to analyze those number of variables, it will take lot of time. So for that, we are going to segregate which are similar, which are having some commonality between them, so to unite them. So for that purpose, the factor analysis need to be done to reduce large number of variables into fewer number of factors. So moving on to next, this factor analysis is used for like a generalized linear model. So and also It includes the relevant variables like what need to be categorized or clubbed together, so that uh, is there any relation between these variables? Similarly, it will factorize them. So it has the same number of factors and variables, whereas each factor contains certain amount of overall variance. A factor can be measured with an variance inflations, variance. So variance which can be quantified, like having low variance or high variance between them. Variance is nothing but the difference. So uh, each variable will have some variance value. There will be some difference between the set of records. So this variance can be explained using the eigenvalue. So you know what is an eigenvalue. May you know, like it is a measure that explains the how much variance is present between the variables. So if eigenvalue is less than 1, we can say that the usually it will be less than 1, which means that it is less, it is having less variance. If it is having more than one variant, greater than 1, so the eigenvalue if is having greater than 1, we should not consider that variable. So you need to again reinterpret by changing or scaling down. So if it is having less than 1, we can consider that variable. So which variables which are having less than 1 of eigenvalue are grouped together based upon the commonality between them. So according to Kaiser criterion, eigenvalues are is a term which can be better fit for determining a factor. So, and also there is an another rule it must fall under the interval of 0.17 to 1, so that it is a better variable to consider. If it is falling below 0.7 or above 1, it is not that much good to consider that variable to be a factor. So to perform factor analysis, there are certain assumptions which lie under. So you may also know this. These assumptions also applicable for multiple linear regression. Although the factor analysis model is also a general linear model, so their assumptions will be almost same. So the first and foremost is there should not be any outliers, which we know while considering the data itself. So adequate sample size, that is uh, that what are the variables you are going to consider must be in more number than the factors that you require. So the factors must be always less than the variables that you consider. And also the perfect multicollinearity. There will not be any perfect multicollinear. There should not be. So if there is an perfect multicollinearity, that is nothing but two independent variables are depending upon each other completely, then it is said to be having perfect multicollinearity. We generally call it as a dependent variable, because if one is depending on another completely, we call it as a feature and target variables. Uh, that's what it determines. There should not be any perfect multicollinearity between the variables. Of course, multicollinearity exists, but a perfect multicollinearity should not be there here. Uh, and coming to homoscedasticity, it is a attribute used to measure the errors of variances between the variables. So here the linearity is like if the two variables is having some uh, will be having some linear relationship between the between them, which can be measured using the covariance between them. So the factor analysis is built upon these linear assumptions. If there is no linearity between them, then non-linear techniques can also be used. And also the data that you assume must be fall under an interval. So like there must be some minimum, there must be some maximum value. So these are the few assumptions that to be considered during the factor analysis. So factor analysis can be of two types, whereas first thing can be exploratory factor analysis. It is like having popular factor analysis approach among the social and management researchers. So mostly exploratory factor analysis can be used on the basis like it directly uh, associate with any other factor. That is like there is some relation between these two factors can be easily said. Like let us suppose a food you are intaking some food with a different variety in some quantity. So let us say if you are going to take some fat content of 20 grams and sugar content of 100 grams, so there will be some interdependency between these variables also, like sugar and fat and also some cholesterol. So all some fat between fat and cholesterol there will be some dependency, so which we can easily identify. So that will come under the exploratory analysis. Like confirmatory uh, factor analysis, like each factor need to be compared with other variables, uh, like what combinations need to be done, and is there any dependency between these two. So this is how the confirmatory factor analysis is done. And and our primary objective of a factor analysis is to reduce the large number of variables to lower numbers. That is the first and foremost. And also we need to consider the like while we are identifying it, you need to see like what are the observed variables and the unobserved variables. Uh, like if you are taking some survey, you will get a number of responses where some will be like observed known variables, like some are like some are considered whereas some are not considered, that you feel not important, but you need to identify what are the variables that are observed variables that are, and also the unobserved. So unobserved variables need to be considered again, and you need to make analysis for the better results. So every variable that you consider is like crucial to us, but you should not simply like delete or leave out, like popping out the unnecessary variables. Usually you only select the variables which are necessary. So in order to reduce that, if you are considering very few variables and thinking like all other variables are not necessary, your output efficiency may fall down because you don't know what factor may affect what results. So based upon that, in order to consider large number of variables, you need to make some factors, like all certain group of variables can also be a named under such a certain factor. So this is what need to be done. It is nothing but simply grouping some variables into some factors. So the process which we follow is like factor extraction is the first and foremost step. Like you need to identify how many factors need to be considered and what factors need to be considered, uh, based upon which we can perform some other analysis like principal component analysis, common factor analysis. There are certain types of analysis, and later upon you use the factor rotation is nothing but like transforming the variables in different variations, like different set of iterations, like, and comparing what like how the data need to be considered, and in what if we transform the data. So all the iterations can be done in the factor rotation. As of now, you just need to know that factor analysis only explains about the covariance in the data, which will remove the error variances, but considering the minimal invariance within variance, it will it simply saying like it excludes the error variance, and includes the inline variance. So moving on to the next thing, that is the linear discriminant analysis, where factor analysis is also a type, like we can also say it as a model. But coming to the linear discriminant analysis, we are going to talk about like dimensionality reduction. In order to perform a factor analysis, we need to select some variables. So how you need to select before performing factor analysis? You need to select some what variables need to be factorized. So for that purpose, we will be using some linear discriminant analysis as well as principal component analysis. So you may be you will be finding some relation between these linear discriminant analysis as well as principal component analysis. Uh, so let me explain first the linear discriminant analysis. I'm starting with linear discriminant analysis because like it is a supervisor classification technique. It is built over the supervised platform. Like it will be having some feature variables as well as a target variable. So where uh, where the variables will be separated among different classes. Let us suppose there will be of different n number of variables, predicting like this will fall under high category, neutral category, and low category. Uh, so here the linear discriminant analysis will group the based upon the classes by by training upon the model of uh, like train. You are giving some feature variables as well as some target variables. Based upon the target variables and comparing with the feature variables, it will classify that. This is what and this is why we can say that this is a supervised technique to classify. So where can we use this linear discriminant analysis is we can use for the image recognition, where we have previously seen like uh, if you take the category of animals, let us suppose you have cat, dog, and sheep or goat, like that. By giving some input variables, it can classify them into different classes. So and also can be used for predictive analysis also, that is for regression, as well as also for classification also. Qualitatively we can also predict like what decisions can be made uh, for the qualitative data also. And in marketing also we can predict the sales or sales for that. And for our clear understanding, let us discuss with an example. Like we are having some two sets of data, where one you see like some black circles, and another you have some green circles where a hyperplane is drawn between them. So a boundary is being uh, plotted like on a 2D plane of x and y. You are seeing different set of variables. So in order, these are having uh, these are of two classes where one is of black color and another is of green color. So in order to form some factor here, you need to make the 2D variable into 1D variable. Previously, like 1D is nothing but a set of points, whereas 2D can have some coordinates like on x-axis and y-axis, there will be some coordinates to locate the point. That is nothing but indexing. So in order to make that, like here the linear discrimination can be done like calculating uh, the regression line and treat that as an axis. Let us say, for our understanding, let us treat like an axis. So a regression line can be fit between the points and the all the points that are located on the 2D plane, that is with x and y coordinates, will be moved on to the new axis, that is nothing but our regression line. So previously you were having two axes like x and y. So after the conversion it will be like one axis only. There will not be x and y. There is unique axis where all the data points are lies upon. So how this can be done is like this is uh, by fitting a regression line and calculating the variances between the two classes, like calculate the differences between the black points and also the calculate the sorry, not the differences, like calculate the mean between the black points and the uh, calculate the mean between the green points. So there must be two maximum distance between the two means, so that all the black will be come to one side and all the green will stays on other side. This is how a classification can be done, and also we can minimize the variance between them, so that if all the green are nearly located to each other, there will be less variance. That is nothing but difference between the distance, let us suppose like that. So that will be very minimum, and if all the green are very near to each other, then the variance can be low. So based on that, we can classify that. For your clear understanding, you can visualize like previously you are having some four. So these are the black, and here is a black, and also here some green are located, but a black is located here. But let us suppose this is their mean, and this green mean can be this. So there must be some greater distance between these two means. So uh, we are like the black is mixed in the green. If we take all those black onto one side and green on one side, all these mean will be here and this mean will be here. So that there is a greater distance between the means, and all the black fall under one category and all the green can fall under the other category, and the variance between these two will be also reduced. So this is how the classification is done. So this is our new generated axis, which is the nothing but some you can treat it like a regression line. So it is for our convenience, I'm saying that as a regression line, but there will be no further classification. Like there is some coordinates for this point. It is nothing but classifying into two different set of factors. So a factor is having two classes. So this is how a classification can be done. And coming to the principal component analysis, we can say it as a procedure where uh, it falls under the unsupervised category, where there will be different variables given, and there you need to check like there is no classification of like categorization of feature variables and as a target variable. Previously in linear discriminant analysis, you have considered some feature variables and target variables. So the model can predict based upon the previous given trained data. But in principal component analysis, there will be no such category like these are the feature variables. This should be our target variable. The model need to build like you need to factorize the variables up that you not you the machine need to factorize the variables upon its own interpretation. How this can be done is like it uses the exploratory data analysis for predicting the models. So where it checks the interrelational tendencies between the various variables. So some variables with some commonality will be grouped into one factor variable, like one principal component variable. Let us suppose, as we are now talking with in terms of principal component analysis, let us say that some variables or some factors which are having some commonality will be grouped and called as a principal component factors. So like that, the the similarities, all those similarities are interpreted, and you will have some set of principal components. So remember that this is an unsupervised learning which is classifying itself, like which is grouping them upon its own with some commonality. So as I discussed that, clearly I want to explain the differences between these three. So I am again putting some points in before you, like saying that linear discriminant analysis is nothing but a statistical technique which uses some linear combinations between the observed variables, where with it will maximize the class separations. That is nothing but uh, you are having some two classes, like it will have some maximum mean whereas minimum variance. This is what need to be maintained in the linear discriminant analysis for classification purpose, so that we are having some feature variables and target variables. Coming to principal component analysis, it will only look for the uh, also the compare uh, same functionality as linear discriminant analysis, but there will not be any classification like these are the future variables. These will be the target variables. You need to predict what class they fall under. So this will not be there. All the variables it will treat like independent variables. That is nothing but feature variables, and it will interpret it upon its own, which will also lead to maximizing the mean and also minimizing the variance. So this is what the difference that underlies between the LDA and the PCA, where also you need to consider like there will be different set of constructs upon which these can be built. So one of the construct can be like before performing some factor analysis, these different set of factors need to be framed. So in order to form those factors, what variables need to be considered under a factor? A factor contains different set of variables. So what variables need to be grouped? For that purpose, uh, you need to first know how many factors need to be made. So to identify how many factors need to be made and what factors need to be made, you need to perform LDA or FCA based upon the data type that you take. So after performing LDA and or PCA, you will identify uh, what factors need to be considered, what variables need to be grouped under a factor and what factors you need to consider for predicting, for analyzing further model. So factor analysis here the in PCA or LDA you will be like including the error and within the variable variance. That is nothing but you will also include the variances between two variables. So what variables need to be considered, which are very nearer, and like on what basis we need to group these variables. And coming to the factor analysis, you will you will remove the error and by considering the within variable variance. So it means like you will firstly analyze with the LDA or PCA and you will get the output with what variables are to be grouped together and what as a factor and what factors is having what variance. Among those, you will exclude the error. So you have a result. The result is excluded with the error. So you will be with a handful of like prepared, that is finished product. So which will be the output of factor analysis. So in factor analysis, you will uncover the latent variables. That is nothing but previously you have neglected some variables. So you will consider all the variables and you will make some factors so that all the variables, all the responses can be considered for predicting some better output. So this is what factor analysis, linear discriminant analysis, as well as principal component analysis is done. So I am done with my theoretical part. You can ask me now if you are having some any doubts regarding this, because Gokul will be explaining with the coding. So these three will be the most crucial words across the machine learning you will hear from now. So wherever you go, you will be learning mostly about dimensionality reduction, which is principal component analysis, linear discriminant analysis. So if you are having any doubts, please ask. If you are having no doubts, I will hand over the session to Gokul. Gokul, you can continue with this coding part.
Yeah, give me 2 minutes. I'll be starting it.
Okay. There will be some variances which you need to consider using the eigenvalue. So previously I told you like eigenvalue is the one factor, one measure which we consider to measure the variance between the variables, different variables. So here Gokul will be explaining like what variances are interpreted between the variables which we give. So having the variance between 0.7 to 1 is a good consideration for that group of for grouping those variables. So if you are if you got three variables with within the limit that is nothing but 0.7 to 1, we can group those variables into one category. So that can be some one factor. So this is how it will be considered, and Gokul will be showing how the linear discriminant analysis can be done over the supervised learning techniques, and also will be considering some unsupervised like independent variables data which are not having any target variable, and will be showing some variances of unsupervised learning, that is nothing but principal component analysis. So he will show you the variances so you can identify like is this model or the output can be considered, or you should again change some variables, like consider other variables with these variables, and different set of interpretations need to be done. So this is how the variances are compared, and you can also identify what is the better technique. Finally, you will be having you will be transforming the data. That is nothing but you are having some trained data. You will transform the data into factors again. So this is done using PCA or LDA. After making the transformation, then you need to apply the main algorithm. So if you want some decision tree classification, you can apply some decision tree. If you want some logistic regression, you can apply some logistic regression. Mostly this is used for analyzing the psychometrics of the people, where uh, if you are if you are collecting some survey about various people's feelings, their thoughts, like that, their ideology, there will be n number of variables. So how can you consider all the variables, because different people are having different variables, different set of mindset. In order to measure that, you are most mainly using these, and in order to reduce large amounts of variables, you are going to use the dimensionality reduction.
Hello.
So you can take.
Yeah, bro. Thank you. Thank you for the explanation of the theory part. Now we are gonna see how the coding part of it works, like how the factor analysis and the principal component analysis and the other linear discriminant analysis, how the coding part looks like, and what are the differences in the coding part, and how to understand each and every line of the code. I will be explaining each and every line. Let me quickly share my PPT so that you can first note down the main requirements. Later we can go with the coding part. I think everyone is able to see my PPT. Am I audible? Hello?
Yes, go, you are audible.
Yeah, thank you. So today we'll be seeing all these three analysis coding part from my side. So firstly, here are the required libraries and the modules, or we can also say the functions which are required for performing all these three analysis. I will give you some time. You can just quickly note it down somewhere, or I will even share the PPT later. But if you are currently trying with me on your systems, you better note it down. Then we can go with the further steps, like what are the main steps required for each and every analysis which we do. Take your time and let me know. Take 2 minutes and just note it down and just let me know. Okay. Does anyone writing it down? Okay, I think it is clear. Let's go with the coding part. How does it look like? 1 second. So first, let me quickly import these libraries. So these are the basic libraries which we go with. Today, first we will go, let's go with the principal component analysis. In principal component analysis, as our Kalyan explained, we try to understand whether if there are any like how can we reduce the total data into a smaller part without losing its what do we say the value in it. Let's say we have a data of maybe some 10 columns and some 1,000 observations within it, but performing some analysis on that data set will take time. But whether if we can reduce the amount of data without losing its value, or let's say without losing its explanation of the dependent variable, then we can just reduce the data and we can perform different analysis on it with less time. So the introduction of this, like the main reason for creating such a concept of reducing the data or reducing the dimensions of the data, this came into existence just because of the growing data size. If we can see, literally for 1 year, the whole world is generating almost 6 petabytes of data. If we take that into consideration, it's like we cannot even understand all the amount of data which is being generated. But how can we do perform different more like analysis and apply different models on those data without reducing, like without changing it into any reduced data? Then it would take a lot of time before we even analyze the amount of data which we are generating. The amount of new data which will be generated will be so huge, the systems may not be able to cope up with it. So that's why this concept of dimension reduction came into existence. So what we do, we just reduce the total amount of data into less number of components, or we can say less number of features, by reducing its dimension. In the principal component analysis, we create principal components, nothing but reducing the data to columns. We will reduce the column data here mostly. So when we reduce the number of columns in the data into a less number of columns, these columns may not have the same column names which we have previously having in our data. We will give it a new name which will be simply called as component principal component 1, principal component 2. But in factor analysis, actually we have some theoretical explanation for naming those new variables or factors which we create. But in principal component analysis, we don't have such a theoretical background for it. We just reduce the whole data into less, just by how much the new components will be explaining the old dependent variable, or we can say how much the new data looks or can be used to explain the same value which is being explained by the old data. That is how the principal component analysis works. So let's quickly first start. We need some data to work on with. So we have a small data set called a cancer data set, breast cancer data set. It is from actually R. I downloaded it and I created a CSV file. Now I am just uploading, like retrieving that data set. Let's name it as cancer, and I'm gonna retrieve it. CSV. We can just see here it has almost 31 different columns here, 31 different we can say like uh, features here. But what are the features which explain most is this actually the diagnosis. This diagnosis says like it is an categorical variable which explains if they have the cancer or not, or how much the amount, like the mild, is it mild cancer or is it a severe cancer. Such type of things will be explained by this diagnosis. But we are not interested in this because we cannot, this is the dependent variable here. We want to reduce the number of independent variables. Here if you see, the independent variables are from 2 till 31. There are almost all 29 to, yeah, if we reduce this, we have almost 29 different features here which are explaining this diagnosis dependent variable. Let me quickly show you the head part of it so you can understand clearly. If we see, this diagnosis is a categorical variable showing is it a mild or severe, and the ID is nothing but the ID of the patient, and but these remaining features, these remaining values are the features which are explaining whether a person is being diagnosed with some type of cancer or not. So first, we need to apply the dimension reduction on this part. So we quickly remove these two columns from the data and create a data. So I'm just removing the first two columns. See, now I have removed the first two columns. Now I got the remaining data here. Now we need to apply the principal. Before applying the principal component analysis, we first need to understand like how many components which we can reduce this into. Actually, we can understand this after applying the principal component analysis. So let's quickly apply it, but the principal component analysis will be applied on the data which is actually in the form of an array rather than the data structure of series. Right now, this data structure, like our data structure of data which we have here is actually a data frame. It is a pandas data frame, but our data, like the function which we apply, PCA function, this PCA function is mainly applied on the array data sets. It explains like it works better with arrays rather than the data frame. So we have to convert this data into an array data. It is actually simple. Let's just say name it as x equal to data dot values. Now we can see x is converted into a numpy array. Now we can perform whatever the functions which we need to apply on this x so that we can easily get the required output. So before I quickly apply on this function, if we can see here the values, if you can see the values here, the radius mean is around like 17 to 20, and the difference of these values are so high. And if you see the smoothness mean here, it is almost nearly zero, almost every value. So the change in values, if you see, the average mean is almost all thousands, and the perimeter is in hundreds. So all the values are in different, let's say, uh, the values are having different, like the digit count, we can say, or maybe we can explain like the scale. uh, all these columns are having different scales right now. That is why they are having different values which are not easy to compare. Let's say the average mean, if it is showing in thousands, the least might be 100 or so, but the 100 may be the least value. But in the smoothness mean, it might be having a least value of 0.01. How can we both we compare these two unless both minimum values or maybe both means are at the same degree, or we can say on the same scale? So to convert the different scales of these data into one scale, we have one small method, or some small code with which we can convert these data into a standardized data. It's nothing but we have a code. uh, we have a small module in sklearn itself. In sklearn, we usually do pre-processing. In pre-processing, we have a standard scalar as a function. If we apply this standard scalar function onto our data, one second. Yeah. Let me show you in the data frame format. Now you can see that all the values are converted into normalized values, so that we can easily compare these different values, which is having like almost same minimum and maximum values, we can say. So these, by doing this small code, we can easily convert different scaled values into a same scale. This is a main function which we need to remember, because in dimension reduction, or even if you try to do any other reduction techniques, keeping all the data columns or all the data in the different columns in the same scale will always give you better results. If we don't do that, the impact of one variable might be not be similar, or may not be easily compared with the impact of other variables, because the value, the real value might be so hugely different because of the different scales which it is being used. That is why converting the whole data into a normalized format is a compulsory or a mandate thing before we apply any dimension reduction techniques, or we can say even other dimension reduction techniques which we don't which we don't discuss today. Now after reducing, like after converting the data into standard form, now we need to apply the principal component analysis. So first we import it. Let's import the principal component module, which is in discriminant analysis package or module, you say. Sorry, it is in decomposition. It is in decomposition PCA. So now let's make some let's create some function which we can apply it on. Let's say it as a PCA is equal to PCA off. Now here what values which we can give in PCA. Let me quickly show. Here we can see we can give these all values inside, but what values are really important for us and which we which we like to use here are the n underscore components, because how many components it needs to be reduced into. This is what explains. And the other one is SVD solver is nothing but it explains which type of technique which it needs to be used to reduce these components into. There are different techniques which can be used, but keeping it in auto is better because it itself understands according to the data and tries to apply the relevant technique to get you a best result out of it. But the n components can needs to be addressed, because if we don't put anything here, now let's say I'm not giving any value of now, I am just leaving the n components as none. So now let me apply this PCA and I'm directly transforming it, and I'm applying the whole data, I mean x scale, right? I'm applying the scaled function here, which why it is scaled, because after scaling I named it as scaled. So I'm applying this. Now we can see here the let me show you in the data frame so you can easily understand it. Now if you see the head part of this applied after fitting the whole data into our PCA, we can see that it is showing almost all the 30 columns here. That means the n value, the value of n underscore components, it is taking as same as the number of columns which we already previously having in our data set. But that is not what we want, because we want to reduce the dimensions, right? So here it is not reducing, not being dimensions are not being reduced, but we need to perform this step to understand how many components which we need to reduce this data into. So how can we do that? After applying the fit function, after as we have fitted already, right now we need to apply another function on this PCA which will show us the variances explain, like this explain variances shows the number of the different variances of each column, like how much each column is being the is explaining the previous data better than the other column. So this is the function actually. It explains it is explained underscore variance underscore ratio. Here we can just multiply it with 100 so that we can get the 100 values. Here you cannot see this, but here if you see, it is 01. So e power 01 means 44.27. So the first column alone is explaining how much, 44.27%. And if we say, and the second column, how much it is explaining, it is also 1, so almost 18.97%. And the third column is explaining 9.39%, and the fourth column is explaining 6.60%. And so on. This is how we can see, like each column how much it is explaining the previous data. So we can easily understand that the first column and the first two columns itself are explaining more than 50% of the previous data. So these two columns are very much important. But what other columns which we can take, if we consider the basic rule which we usually apply in statistics, the 95%, like we always try to have a accuracy around 95%. So for getting the like this data needs to explain the 95% of the previous data. So how much we can take, till how many columns it might take to explain the 95% of previous data. How can we get that in one code? There is one small code for that as well. It is nothing but we are summing up these actually. So we are just summing np this is the comes from it actually cumulative summation. This comes from means actually cumulative summation. So what it is actually doing is first one it will give 44%. The second value it adds the 44 plus 18, it will give some value, and the third one it adds 44 plus 18 plus 9, and the fourth value it adds 44 plus 18 plus 9 plus 6. So this is how it gives us the result. So what should we give inside? Inside we need to give PCA, our previous, this one actually. So if we give this, we can clearly see that the first column is explaining 44%. Second column is explaining first and second column both together are explaining 63%. First three columns are explaining 72%. First four columns are explaining 79%. So this is how the variable the columns or principal components are explaining. So how many principal components which we need to take? As I previously said, up to 95 if we take as an example. If we want 99, then we can go up to 15, 5 more. If we want up to actually 99, this is actually not 16. We can take up to 16 components, or we can take if we want around 95%, we can take up to 10 components here. So this is how we understand how many components which we need to reduce our data into. As we can see here, 90 as a basic common assumption, which we go with the 95% rule. So here if we see that first 10 components are explaining 95% of the previous data. So we need to fix the number of values which is being showed here, which we didn't fix previously. Now we need to put some value for it. So let's apply the same here, but we are giving n underscore components as 10 because we understood that 10 components is the best way for us to understand, like to better reduce the data into, which will explain 95% of the previous data. So now I applied, now it is showing n components as 10. Now I need to apply, let's name it as 1. So let me apply this PCA1 dot fit underscore transform of x underscore. Now we have this data set. Actually, this is an array which we need to convert into a data frame and which we need to store it in a DT. And this DT this data frame which is having 10 columns here is the data frame which is the output. Actually, these are the 10 principal components which are explaining almost 95% of our previous data. And using these 10 components, we can apply all the various different algorithms which we previously applied on different data sets. We can apply all those functions, all those models here as well. What is the profit in doing this? We are just reducing the amount of data which we are handling. Doing this, the machine learning process or these algorithms which usually take time when applied on a huge data set will be easily working on this reduced data and giving almost same result as the previous results. So that is why we we use this dimension reduction techniques. So how can we name these? Actually, we need to name these, right? So we give columns is equal to list of principal component 1, principal component 2, component 3, and actually we need to give all the names, otherwise it will throw an error again saying that the dimensions are not met. Now that we have all our principal components, 10 principal components which we have targeted for. So this is how we reduce the amount of data using principal component analysis. How I think everyone understood like how to find out how many components which we need to reduce our data into. It is nothing but which we apply we apply the principal component analysis without any without any reduction techniques. We directly apply without any like preset number of components. We just apply the whole data into the principal component function, and then we find out its variances, and the variances are then cumulated and understood till which variable or which number of components it might take to explain at least 95% of our previous data. If we are taking it as 99, then we might have to consider more than 10 components, which we might go up to 16 here. With respect to this data set, it is showing 16. If we take a different data set, we might get different values as well. So this is how we understand, like this is how we perform the principal component analysis. And finally, what we do, we change the data. Like after changing these data into the new principal components which we have generated from the from our model, these principal components will be put into some data, and this actually this data is added. There will be another column added. Which column will be added? The previously removed column, the column which we have removed here. Initially when we removed our column here, this diagnosis column which we have removed here, this will be added back here as the 11th column, and then we will be performing all the different techniques to understand how these 10 how like which model can be applied on these 10 principal components to explain that dependent variable better. Nothing but applying basic other modeling techniques. Usually we apply it on the dataset directly, but here we are converting the dataset into a reduced dataset first, and then applying all the different functions. So that is how principal component analysis. Now let's go for factor analysis. So in factor analysis, what we do, factor analysis is also a type of principal analysis. Actually, principal component analysis can be considered as a part of factor analysis, but they almost look like same. Even the steps might look same, but there is a small concept called eigenvalues, and we even plot those eigenvalues into a scree plot to understand how many factors which we can convert the whole data set into. Also, the factor analysis is from a theoretical perspective, because each and every factor which we try to pull out from the data set actually can be named in real life. If we take, let me show you a small data set first. It is actually called these values are actually taken from students, and these are this like if you say A1 to A5, these explain one type of character in students, and this C1 to C5 explain another character, and E1 to E5 explain another character. So similarly, they have different almost 25 questions, and each 5 questions are explaining each character of the same person, same student, and these gender, education, age are different elements. We can just remove these and perform our factor analysis on these data without knowing. Let's say I have this data right now and I don't know whether these A1 to A5 are really into one character, like can be converted into one factor or not, or this C1 to C5, whether they are explaining one factor or not, can they be considered into one factor? If we can consider, simply these 25 columns which we are seeing here can be reduced to 5 columns. How much data we are reducing here? We are almost reducing 5 times. The data is being reduced 5 times. So that is the profit, the main benefit of factor analysis here. But this is actually coming from a theoretical perspective, because we already know that these 5 questions can be categorized as one character. But whether these 5 questions can be categorized as one character or not, this actually explained by the data which we are having beneath it. So how can this data explain it? I will show you. It is actually from the eigenvalues, and the eigenvalues is nothing but the difference. It actually takes the distances between them and it compares and explains. It shows you, it gives an eigenvalue which shows that considering these many factors can be profitable for, like can be the reduce the, like we can reduce the data into those many number of factors. So let's quickly pull this data into our data. Let me take BFI dot read CSV of. Now we have our data. Here we can see we have almost 28 columns in it. So in these 28 columns, these gender and education and age are not our character, like these are the not values, integer values, and also we can say these are not part of any factors with respect to our previous analogy. So we need to reduce these columns first, and we need to understand whether these columns can be reduced into factors or not with these 25 columns. So I will remove that and make it into a data. Now that we have reduced our data into these main 25 character, like main 25 elements, like main 25 features, we quickly check whether there are any NAs, because NAs or the missing values will be the main factor which can be influencing our factor analysis. Always remember that removing the missing values or performing some kind of imputation on the missing values is important before performing the factor analysis. So let's quickly check if there are any missing values. We can see there are a lot of missing values actually. We can just remove all these missing values, or we can impute. Now let's quickly remove this and just perform our factor analysis. So to remove this, what we do is data dot drop NA, and this has to be put back into data. Now if we see here, it is showing 2436 entries, and previously it is showing 2800 entries. Almost 300 missing value columns have been removed, almost 350, 364 actually, 364 missing column values has been removed, missing rows has been removed. Now we have 2436 entries or 2436 observations with which we can perform our factor analysis. So for factor analysis, what do we have? Like what are the main required packages or libraries? In factor analysis, actually, we need to use a different new what do we say? New library which we have not previously used. Previously we are using all from sklearn package, and right now there is one package called factor analyzer, which is a very better for performing this factor analysis, which is very easy as well. To install this factor analyzer, all we need to do is write this code quickly, because this needs to be run only once and you will be having factor analyzer in your system, and thereby don't need to install it again and again. I have already installed, but I am right now showing you the code. You can just write this down. It will be pip install factor underscore analyzer, factor analyzer. This will be the factor analyzer. After installing the factor analyzer, you need to go with the first you need to see whether we can apply factor analysis on this data set or not. There is actually one small test, or we can say the KMO test. This KMO test will explain whether we can apply the factor analysis onto our data set or not, whether we can convert the data set into factors or not. So how can we apply this KMO? Actually, it is in the same package from factor analyzer. Again, apply factor analyzer. The factor analyzer, there is a module again named as same. In factor analyzer library, there is a factor analyzer module. In that module, we will be having calculate KMO. This is the function which we will be first importing, and we will be applying this function calculate KMO on our data. So don't get confused of this much of large values. We don't need this first column or the first array. We need the second value which is showing here. It is showing 0.84. 0.84 is nothing but it is around 0.85, and this value needs to be as high as possible. It will be ranging from 0 to 1 actually, but the higher value says that we can apply the factor analysis. The lesser the value, it says that we cannot apply the factor analysis, but the higher the value, it says that we can apply the factor analysis. So as it is showing already 0.85, we can clearly go with the factor analysis, and it says that we have to reduce the dimensions for a better output, or we can say for better performing data set, which we have to perform the factor analysis. So how to perform the factor analysis, or how to understand how many factors which we need to convert this into. This KMO is not explaining how many factors it can be converted into. It is just explaining that whether we can apply factor analysis or not. The higher the value, it just says that we can apply the factor analysis, but how many factors which we can convert this into. There is another code for this actually. It says how many factors which we can convert the whole data set into. It is actually through eigenvalues. But how can we get eigenvalues? Eigenvalues actually get after you apply the factor analysis. So first we need to apply the factor analysis without any predefined factors into it, just like we applied principal component analysis without knowing how many components which we need to convert or transform this into. But later we understood how many components are explaining more of the previous data, and with respect to that we converted again how many components which we actually required. Similarly here as well, we first apply the function, we see how many, we see the eigenvalues, and we even try to plot it, and then we understand with respect to those eigenvalues, we then understand how many like factors which we can convert the whole data set into, and then we will apply the same and we will convert the data set with respectively. So first we need to apply this factor analysis. So factor analysis is also in the part of the same package in the same module. So the same factor analyzer, in the same factor analyzer there is a factor analyzer module, and there we have factor analyzer function. Now this factor analyzer function, if we take, let's say, factor analyzer function, here you can see what all the things it is having inside it. Don't take much of other things. We just understand these two main important factors, or these two main important arguments which we need to give in as an input for this factor analyzer. Both are this first one is n factors, n underscore factors, how many factors which you need to convert it into, or the rotations. This rotations will explain whether the whole data can be like how, whether the columns can be shuffled or not. That is how the rotations is explained. So currently how many factors it is showing? It is showing 3 factors. But it is the basic 3 factors is the previous set, but which we don't know exactly right now how many factors which we need to convert this into. So first we'll take the eigenvalues of this data set, and then we understand. So how can we take out the eigenvalues? It is actually before taking eigenvalues we need to fit the data, right? Fa dot fit of data. Now that I have fitted the data, we can take the eigenvalues. There is get eigenvalues. And this is actually giving you 2 arrays. Don't need to get confused. So we actually need the first one. So let's take 2 variables, which this will be converted into, and this first one this is the eigenvalues which will be explaining us how many factors this whole data set can be reduced into. We actually need the values more than 1, above than 1 is considered. Eigenvalues more than 1 is considered as we need to take this as a factor. So by considering 1 factor, we get the eigenvalue 5. By taking 2 factors, the eigenvalue is 2. By taking 3 factors, it is around 2.14, and by taking 4 factors, 1.8, 5 factors, 1.5, 6 factors, it takes up to 1.0. So after 1, if it is going less than 1, that is not considered as, because eigenvalues needs to be around 1. That is actually the common going which we go on with. So the eigenvalue should be more than 1. Then we take it as the minimum value, like the amount, the number of factors which we can convert this into. So from the first one to here, that means we take up to 6 factors. We can even plot this whole eigenvalues into a scree plot. The scree plot is explains in actually in other in R, or we can say in other softwares. We have a direct scree plot function. If we apply the scree plot to the original data set, it directly shows you the eigenvalues and it will directly plot the scree plot. So how can we plot this? Actually, we need to first plot the scatter plot to scatter the values. What all values you require? We require 2 values. First one is the whole x will be the whole data set actually, but we don't need the whole data set. We just need the one column of the data set. So how can we take that? We can take just a range of data dot shape, and even in the shape we are considering only first column, and we take +1. Why we take +1? Because eigenvalues always gives you more than one result than the whole data set. If we take here 1 2 3 4 5 and it is showing 1 2 3 4 5 25, so we give +1 comma EV. And on the same, actually we can see that we have the actually dots plotted here, but we want on the same plot we need the line to understand whether when the scree plot is going down. So plt dot plot of same input we give, it will show us the line as well. And if we see here clearly, how many dots are there above 1? 1 2 3 4 5 6. That means 6 factors we can convert the whole data into. This is a basic funda which we need to remember, that 1 above than 1, how many dots are there above 1 is considered as the number of factors which we can convert this into. It is not exactly like above, like it is not exactly 6 here. We can even go with 5 as well, or we can go with up to 7, but not more than that, because all the values are below 1. These are the eigenvalues. These need to be more than 1 to be considered as a one factor. So now that we understood that we need almost 6 factors, let's quickly convert the same function, but this time we give 6 factors here. Now let's apply fa1 n underscore factor equal to 6. Now let me give the, as I said, there is another second function which will be taking care rotations. This rotations I need to give varimax. Now we got the rotation varimax and the n factors equal to 6. Now we apply this on our data set. And we directly try to transform and also see the output. So we are having this output, but how can we go whether, how can we understand whether this is the final data or not? So there is one more function in the same factor analyzer itself, which is actually called loadings. This loadings will show us, let me show it in the data frame. These loadings will explain how many columns are being into each factors. I'm showing FA1 we need to see, right? See, here it is showing the above columns 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are the factors. And these 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are the nothing but these columns which we have here, A1, A2, A3, A4. So those are the columns here, the row names which are not being shown here. So these are the row names which we need to take, but which row names will be considered into which factor? So from this actually we can see it is not actually showing the row names. Actually here it will shows the row names, and with respect to row names what we take is which of the columns comes under which factor. This will be explained in the loadings, which columns will be loaded into which factor. So that is how these loadings will explain us which factors we can convert into which. But here, if we can see, it needs to be more than, it needs to be nearly 1, or we can say more than 5 here, 0.5, sorry. It needs to be more than 0.5, either minus or plus, that doesn't change. It needs to be nearly 1. So if we see all these values, if you see here, or in the first column, all these values are less than 0.5 until and unless here it is around 0.8, 0.7, 0.7, 0.5, 0.5. These 5, 15 to 19 will be under first column, or nothing but first factor. These 15 to 19 are the rows, or we can say these 15 to 19 are the different columns. Actually, there are no column names here. I will get back to you how these column names will be visible. So with these column, actually with those different columns will be considered into one factor. And if we see the second column here, there will be different values. If you see here, it is more than 0.5 from 10 to 14. These will be the columns which will be loaded into the second factor. Similarly, we go with each and every factor, which columns will be loaded into which factor exactly. That is how we actually reduce the whole total columns into those factors. And if we see here, the last column, all the values are less than 0.5. That means it clearly explains that there is no good factor which can be loaded into this last factor. That means the sixth factor is not required in our data set. Actually, we can just reduce this into 5 factors itself. Then how can we do that? We can simply just apply the same function again but with 5. Here we go with 5. So we apply this new function onto our data set. Now this will be actually having these are the actually 5 factors which our data can be converted into. Hello. So these are the values which we can convert our whole data set using factor analysis. That is how we perform factor analysis. How this we can even check the loadings for this. If we take f2 dot loadings, here we can clearly see all each 5 like rows. There will be in each column there will be 5 rows at least whose value will be more than 0.5, either in negative or positive. Those values will be taken. That means those columns, the column names will be visible. I will let you know how those columns will be loaded into that factor, and we don't need to actually manually do it. It is actually done here by this code. If we can see that the transform code will directly load it, and it will directly give us the output here. We don't need to do it manually. But in other softwares we might have to do it manually. So this is how we understand which variables which we need to load it into, which columns are loaded into which factor. This will explain and I will let you know here how the column names will be visible, so that we can easily understand which columns are loaded into which factor. So quickly, let's go for the last module today. It is linear discriminant analysis. And in linear discriminant analysis, what is the main difference between the linear discriminant analysis and the other two, principal component or the factor analysis? The main difference out of that and this is the linear discriminant analysis considers the different clusters. but how different clusters, or we can say it is not actually clusters, but it is actually the groups or the grouping variable. So there must be a grouping variable in our data set, or we can say the output variable or the dependent variable, which usually in the linear discriminant analysis, it must be a categorical variable. Our dependent variable must be a categorical variable, and only then we can apply our linear discriminant analysis. So which data set we can take here? Iris can be taken here, because Iris have a all the independent variables of Iris are the continuous variables, but the output or the dependent variable is the categorical variable. Such type of data sets only can be applied to linear discriminant analysis. Other than this, if you have any categorical variable in your input variable, or if your outcome variable is continuous variable, linear discriminant analysis doesn't work here. Linear discriminant analysis only works when your input variables are continuous or numbers, and your output variable is categorical. Only then we can apply our linear discriminant analysis. So let's quickly take Iris dataset here, which we usually apply to many. So load.dataset IS info. We can see our spices is categorical variable, which is dependent variable. Other 4 are the independent variables. We are having actually 4 columns here and 4 columns and 150 rows here. But how much I can reduce this data into? This is the technique which we are doing, dimension reduction, right? So in linear discriminant analysis, how many variables, or we can say how many columns does these 4 columns can be reduced into, will be explained with our linear discriminant analysis. So how can we convert? Before we convert, actually the linear discriminant analysis or this conversion is it is dependent on the y, or we can say the dependent variable. So we need to first convert our data into 2 parts, x and y. So what our x will be? X will be IRIS dot drop off species x is equal to 1. What will be our y? Species. So what we have in the x, we have x will be having 150 rows and 4 columns, and y will be having 150 rows and only 1 column. So this is our x and y. If we see the info as well, in our x we can see we have all the sepal width, sepal length, and petal width and petal length. All these 4 columns are loaded into x, and our y is dependent variable, species. So after converting this, we here as well, we can scale the whole different values here. Let's first check what it is having. All the values are, I think, in the same or nano length, or we can say the millimeters probably. All the values here are in millimeters. So actually all of them are in same scale, but we don't know, if we, let's say we don't know whether they are in the same scale or not, we can just apply our scalar like the scale function which we have previously applied. Let us quickly apply that. X underscore before I apply scale, first we need to split our data. Actually here we need to split our data into train and test data sets, because this linear discriminant analysis can also be used to split our data into discriminant analysis, like which factors it can be converted into, and then we can apply the same on our test data set, and we can by applying this separately on train and test datasets, and taking the same train and test datasets to apply different models, other models which we usually apply in our principal component as well and in factor analysis. If we, by doing that, we actually are converting the whole dataset into our discriminant analyzed, I mean the subset, or we can say like the reduced data set. So to do that, actually we need both, but here we apply the same strategy like we apply in our previous models. When we apply, we split the data into train and test, and we first apply the model on train, and we try to create a model depending on the train data set, and then we apply the same on test data set for testing its accuracy, or we can say other scores, how well these factors can be explained, or how well this reduced data explains the previous data in both test and train data sets. That is how we go with. So first here, if we take, let's take first splitting, right? So from sklearn dot model selection import train test split, and we are converting x underscore train comma x underscore test comma y underscore train comma equal to split of x comma y with train underscore is equal to 0.7. Now that we have split our data into train and test data sets, now we can apply our linear discriminant analysis. So where we can find the linear discriminant analysis, it is actually located in the same sklearn package in discriminant analysis module. So from sklearn, as I mentioned previously, we need to apply the scalar function, right? So let's first scale it, x underscore train underscore scale. As we have already loaded scale, we can just apply that. Is not callable. 1 second. Wait. Yeah, this is how we scale our data. We can even check whether how the scale data looks like. Now we can see it is actually converting all the data into scale data. Now we can apply for a function which is actually from sklearn discriminant analysis import linear discriminant analysis, and let's store it as LDA, linear discriminant analysis of, and let's see what does it have inside it. Inside it we can see clearly how many components it needs to be converted, and all the other variables which we doesn't need to change much, as these are all predefined. This solver can be changed into auto or some other solvers, but mostly we doesn't change that as well, because these are the preset values and they give best results. but the n components is what which we need to change if required. Actually, without giving anything, it actually gives us the best result. Let us directly apply this first. LDA dot fit. Actually, we need to fit on the scalar, right, on our train data set, but we can directly fit and transform, right? So fit and transform x underscore train dot scale. What is it showing? Yeah, as it is showing y. Why it is showing y is missing? Because we need to give y here, right? As I already mentioned, it takes the values, it shows the it fits the columns with respect to y value. Y underscore train, right? Now it shows, it is only showing two values. What does that mean? That means the whole data can be converted into two factors, or we can say it can be converted into two columns. The whole 4-column x can be converted into 2-column x. So the n value here automatically become 2. We can even reduce this to 1, but before reducing that, let's see how much this LDA is explaining our variables. This is same value, this is the same function which you have seen in the PCA as well. In the same PCA as well, we have explained variance ratio, which you can see here. It is showing 99% and 0.76%. That means 99% of the previous data, or we can say the X train or X train, the previous data of the X train is being explained by this one factor, or we can say this one column here which we are having, this first column, not the second one, exclude this. Only this first column is explaining the that much of variance here. So how can we do that? Let's take LDA1, the new one, and linear discriminant analysis, and here we this time give n components as 1, as we understood that one component is explaining 99%. We don't need the other one, and by doing that we can even reduce the whole 4-column data into just one column, which can be easily used in many different models to explain our dependent variable. So LDA1, here we can see that the n components is converted to 1. So now we apply this LDA1 to our both to our both train and test data sets. First let's apply it to fit underscore transform to our train underscore scale. As I already again forgot, train. Now we got the one column. This one column actually explains the whole data which we have in 99% of our the whole data which we have previously in our train data set. So the same fitting can be used to our test data set without fitting the test data set again. With just fitting the train data set, here we apply LDA1 dot direct transform function can be applied here to our x underscore test underscore scale. Here this will be our scale values, or the test data set, and these two data sets can be combined. Let's say we can give a name for this. Let's say this will be our x train, and this as our x test. Now these two needs to be added into one data set actually. Wait. Okay, these are actually not in data frames, right? This is how we convert all our data into our the data set here. So now we can use this data set and we can apply any different models, and this data set actually needs to be added. Actually we need to add the y variable here as well, and then we go with the other different models which we usually apply on data sets directly without doing this discriminant analysis. But why this discriminant or these dimension reduction techniques we use is just because the huge data which we are currently dealing with. If we take in real time, the server might be taking almost as good as thousands of data, thousands of observations, and millions of records, like almost thousands of columns and millions of records. And all those variables, if we can convert them into less values or less columns, or we can say less variables, then we can easily perform various models on that to understand which model, we can easily perform different analysis on those data sets, even which are which are recording like millions of transactions as well. We can apply these other machine learning models easily on that, and we can try to predict the better value, try to predict the value more accurately. You might ask why, how can it be more accurate by reducing the amount of data? We might actually say actually the accuracy might be little low, but when we compare it with respect to time, previously we got around 99% accuracy, or say let's say 96% accuracy we got, and it is that 96% accurate results are being generated after you create a model which took around half an hour for you. But right now, if we after reducing the data, if we apply the same model onto our new data, it might give you 1 or 2% less accurate result, but this accurate result might only take 5 to 10 minutes. You are actually saving 20 minutes of your time, 20 minutes of your system specifications by just reducing the data previously before even applying any model. That is how we use the dimension reduction techniques. That's it for today. If you have any doubts, please let me know. Do you have any doubts? Okay, then if we don't have any doubts, let's close the session, and let's come up with some new models tomorrow. Bye.